What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of 161st and River. And today we're going to do a general little state of the Yankees as the free fall continues, and we'll talk a little bit about the deadline as there have been some updates out of Yankee camp on their deadline expectations, wants, needs, etc. And we'll go from there. So, first of all, Yankees lose again last night to the Rays by a score 4-2. This loss was very emblematic and felt like a 2023 game all over again. It really did. It felt like a 2023 game all over again. I felt like I was watching the same game. Offense gets a couple runs early, pitching staff locks it in, pitching staff gives up a run, pitching staff gives up a run out of the bullpen on a play that should have been made by Volpe. Offense goes quietly into the night, had 3 base runners from the second inning through ninth inning, no base runners for the second inning through fifth inning. And it was like, just end this pain. McMahon had the 2-out single in the ninth inning there. And it's like, just end this fucking pain. This is annoying. I don't want to watch this. It was at that point, my dad's birthday yesterday, so I'm like, I want to go have cake. It was so mind-boggling pathetic last night. The Yankees' inability to score runs without Aaron Judge is something that needs to be studied because it was like watching 2023. Solid pitching performance. Cam Schlittler walked a lot of batters, and I wrote this. He needs to, and Boone kind of said he needs to really get that breaking pitch down, and they're working with it. All right, I believe you. I like what I'm seeing from Schlittler. I really, really like him. I like him as a person. He seems like a good kid. I like him as a pitcher. I think his stuff is really good. He did a really good job for what it's worth of limiting the damage. That game could have very easily been, 21, or not 21. That game could have really easily been 7-2 in the fourth inning. Instead, it was 2-2 in the fourth inning. And then 3-2 when he left the mound in the fifth inning. I think Booney left him one batter too long. I think once he gets that batter, it's first and second. I think he got to pull him, but that's neither here nor there. Hedra came in and got the job done. I have as the key moment last night, Wells grounds out to leave the bases loaded because that was their only chance last night of scoring because this offense is boom or bust. They either hit a home run or they don't hit. They didn't have an extra base hit last night. It was awful. Okay, Aaron Boone last night, a great job of giving up 2 in the first and stringing a lot of good at bats together against Rasmussen in the first. But then we struggled from there. We wouldn't mount anything. Well, no shit, Sherlock. He did say we had good at bats. I didn't leave that quote in there because he says we have good at bats every game. We had a couple on the screws. One was gloved. No, Aaron, they make the plays that your team doesn't make. Okay, Taylor Walls made a play on a Volpe, ball that was hit really good that Volpe couldn't make later in the game on Caminero, and Boone excused it. Well, you're not going to get Caminero, but maybe next time. I have the quote later. We try. Maybe next time we try and what was the word he used? And secure that one. That was the word. No, Aaron, you make the plays that you have to make. All right, there were 3 plays. I have a section in there with errors because this team likes to make a lot of errors. Okay? I have a section in there about errors. Well, guess what, Aaron? Your team was not scored an error last night. Second consecutive game. Let's throw a flag up. Let's send a parade. Instead, there were ruled hits and earned runs. The Caminero ball. Yeah, he's fast, but guess what? Volpe, I've seen him make plays like that before. Not this season, but in his past, he can make that play or make it close. There's a shot in the dark at Caminero. You never know, right? There was the Schlittler play and there was the Jazz play. The Schlittler play on the ground ball that he bobbled, I think that was to lead off the second inning, and it was the Jazz one that lead off the fourth inning. The Jazz one that should have really been ruled an error. bad. Bad scoring. Bad scoring in general last night from the official score. But that run that came around on Luke Weaver shouldn't have been on base if Anthony Volpe makes the play. I'm not going to sit here and murder the kid because he's looked better at the plate lately. But his defense is such a liability at this point. And clearly the Yankees don't trust him offensively because guess what? It was said all night last night that Pete Fairbanks has better splits against right-hand batters and not left-handed batters. And that's why they didn't pinch hit for Goldschmidt. Well, guess what? They pinch hit Ben Anthony Volpe. So the Yankees clearly had the reverse splits on Fairbanks. They just don't believe in Anthony Volpe and his offense. And they brought in Ahmed Rosario. Great move, in my opinion, because they needed someone. They needed someone like that, a veteran presence like Rosario, who can, do that as a veteran to come in here and just, be the veteran presence that he's gonna be, which is good. I think that was a good move by Cashman. We'll get more to the depth in a little bit because I have some things to share and say about that one. That's a good move by Cashman. It really is a good move because now you just allowed pretty much Boone to have more decisions off the bench, and you saw it play out. Really, he had a single. I think it was with 2 outs, but he had a hit. I mean, the Yankees had chances last night and couldn't break through, which seems to be the common theme for this team. They get chances, right? They bully teams, and they just can't come through. So that's what we're looking at with the Yankee offense. The Yankee offense was non-existent last night. The Yankee offense, as far as I'm concerned, I took the night off. Schlittler walked way too many batters. He walked way too many batters last night. That's the one thing. I wrote later, and I'm going to go over my takes because I think people may or may not read my stuff, but I really want my stuff to get out there. So that's why I'm doing this, and then I'll share my deadline thoughts and what I've heard. I think if Schlittler, because of the strikeout stuff, Aaron Boone said today on Talking Yanks, I didn't listen because it's not out yet, but when it's out, I'm sure I'll find the time today, that Luis Heel is going tonight in Scranton. We knew that. And he's going to throw about 75 pitches. If everything goes well, he's starting Sunday against Miami. I like that matchup for Miami. Everyone's like, oh, they're competitive. Well, let's see what they look like on Thursday at 6 p.m. All right, they're going to be stripped down by them. Okay, the Yankees, after this Tampa series, have a stretch of some winnable games and some winnable series. Texas is playing a lot better. Their pitching staff is phenomenal. They're going to give you a run for their money. You got to take one of the games against them at least, so you have the tiebreaker if it comes down to it, and go from there. Then Houston comes down. Houston's really good. So this weekend, the Yankees have a winnable series against Miami. They could still beat Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is nothing to write home about. All right, they did a lot of bad things bad last night. All right, the Yankees just did everything worse. So tonight you have your ace on the mound who's not been pitching good as of late. All right, Max Fried has not been himself as of late. I know the blister didn't help, right? So I'm sure maybe tonight he's dominated Tampa twice. Tampa clearly, it seems, has a knack for not doing good against left-handed pitching. I've kind of observed sorry with the thumbs up. I've kind of observed over the past several times watching the Rays that they kind of dominate left-handed pitching. That they don't dominate left-handed pitching. They kind of have a deficiency there. So that plays to the Yankees' advantage. You saw last night Timmy Hill came in and was good, and they actually let him face Yandy, which I was shocked about because he doesn't have great numbers against right-handed batters. But, I'm sure Aaron Boone knows what I can observe, that the Rays clearly have a deficiency against left-handed pitching. And we saw that in that Will Warren game down in Tampa Bay, where Will Warren lasted like an inning and 2/3 or something, and Yarborough came in and was like fine. He gave up like one home run, but the Yankees made it up quick. And he was fine for 4 or 5 innings. He was good. And Hedrick last night, 5 up, 5 down. It's a left-handed batter with a 4 ERA who was horrible in the minors. So, I've always liked Hedrick's stuff, and he could strike you out, and I like that. The Yankees are looking for a left-handed reliever. I'll talk about that in a little bit. So, this is a big game tonight. You got to even the series. My notes. And this is important to note, the Yankees are facing a lot of right-handed starters. I believe it's 17 out of the next 19 if all goes well and all stays the same. Obviously, deadline, with teams adding, I'm sure Texas is going to add. Houston's adding. We know this. I forget. I don't have it in front of me. I can have it. Who the Yankees have after that. But I know they're facing all right-handers this series against Tampa Bay. Tonight's Boyle. He's 1-0 with a 1.42. I don't know if it's a bullpen game for them. Let's see. Let me click on him. 19 innings, 18 strikeouts. Okay. Yeah, he's a bullpen piece. So I'm assuming tonight's a bullpen game against Fried. That's a very winnable game. I'm sorry. If the Yankees don't win tonight, the Tampa bullpen's not, fantastic. Oh, okay. So I'm looking at this now. Houston, then Minnesota, who the Yankees dominate, day off. St. Louis, day off. Tampa Bay. Then come home 4 against Boston, 3 against the Nats, who, the Yankees should fucking sweep them. And then 4 against the White Sox. Day off in Houston. Come back to the stadium for Toronto. That's going to be a huge series because who knows, the Yankees could have closed the gap by then. Day off. Detroit comes to town. Detroit's been scuffling as of late, and I think, for the exception of Scoobs, no one else in that rotation scares me. Then Boston, the Yankees have a 9-game road trip in September. They go up to Boston. They go to Minnesota. Then they go to Baltimore for 4. Day off. Chicago comes to town, and then Baltimore comes to town. That's how they finish off the year. So the Yankees have a very winnable end-of-season schedule. They do. So that plays into this as well and plays into my top one. Ben Rice has to play every day against right-handed pitching. At first base, yes. People complain, he's not a good first baseman. How do you want him to be a good first baseman if he's getting reps as DH? All right, it's not like they're sending him down in the minors because he's been too good up here, too valuable to the Yankee lineup at the major league level to go to the minors. So how do you want him to learn first base? Because the next year when Goldschmidt walks, or I'm going to bring up my theory of what the Yankees should do and have talked about internally. When Goldschmidt walks at the end of the year, and the Yankees are like, okay, Ben Rice is going to be our everyday first baseman, which I like. I want that. I support that 1,000% I do. Then next year when he has a couple of bad games defensively, people are, he's a horrible defender. Well, because the Yankees haven't given him reps at defense. And Paul Goldschmidt is a ghost against right-handed pitching. He stinks at right-handed pitching. He's an okay defender, right? So what? Volpe's supposed to be great. Jazz is supposed to be great. McMahon is spectacular over at third. I don't have enough good things to say about McMahon's defense at third, and so far the bat has not been a problem. All right, there have been 2 good spots so far with a lot of base runners. There was the one on Saturday that he didn't, but Sunday with the bases loaded, he had the double, and yesterday with the bases loaded, he was patient and took a walk. Passed the baton. There's not much more I can ask for than that from McMahon, and he has hits in all 3 games as a Yankee so far. Obviously, he's not going to be Ruth. He's not going to be A-Rod. He's not going to be Tony Gwynn. He's not going to be a Hall of Famer. But he's going to be a serviceable bat. He has done more in 3 games. I think he has, 4 hits as a Yankee and a couple of walks and a hit batsman. He's done more and has more RBIs at third base in 3 games than Peraza had in 2 months. McMahon's a good move by Cashman so far. And you know what? The reason they backed down on Suarez is because they didn't like the defense. And he strikes out a lot. At least McMahon strikes out a lot and has stellar defense where he's robbing hits and runs and saving the Yankee pitching. So that's a positive for McMahon. I was always a supporter of the McMahon move. I always was. Left-handed bat, could pop a couple in the porch, get him on a winning team and see what he does. And the Yankees have better analytics than the Rockies do. For better or for worse, the Yankee analytics are probably better than the Rockies. And he seems great. He seems like a good guy. So keep him here. And his wife grew up with Aaron Judge and his wife, which is kind of cool, small world. But, what I'm saying is Paul Goldschmidt needs to play against left-handed pitching. But Paul Goldschmidt can also be the tool you use off the bench late in a game where a left-hander comes out of that bullpen and you can have him face Goldie. That I like. I like that a lot. Andy Martino reported yesterday, I had heard speculation about this and got it confirmed after he reported it, that the Yankees have had Goldschmidt. I didn't know about Bellinger, but I got that confirmed as well. Goldschmidt and trade talks. Now, the Bellinger one was more of the doomsday scenario where the Yankees went to bed Friday night thinking that Aaron Judge needed Tommy John surgery. It did not sound good. I was not optimistic on Saturday. In fact, when the report came out from Boone that it was just a flexor strain and the UCL was intact, it was a massive sigh of relief. Massive sigh of relief. So anyways, Booney, so the Yankees had spoken about Paul Goldschmidt and Cody Bellinger in trade talks. My understanding is Bellinger probably isn't going anywhere. That was more of the doomsday scenario. Now, never say never. And that's why I try and word by my words in articles and tweets and stuff like that in a certain way, because you could truly in baseball never say never when it comes to trades and free agency and all that sort of stuff, because you never really know. Anything can happen. But with this one, it's highly unlikely that Bellinger gets moved. If someone were to get moved, I think it's either Grisham or Goldschmidt or Escara. In fact, if I'm Brian Cashman and need pitching, I'm moving all three of them. The Yankees still like Willie Castro. I like Willie Castro. It makes me wonder what they're doing. I'm thinking, and Bader was brought up yesterday, which I found weird. Are they, I could see the Yankees moving, doing probably a 1-for-1, maybe like Grisham for Bader, where the Twins need a left-handed hitting utility outfielder and the Yankees need a right-handed hitting one, and you could just do a 1-for-1. I could see that. I know the Yankees have interest in the Twins' big arms. I don't think they're going to get them because it doesn't sound to me that the Yankees are fully sold, and we'll get into that more. But anyway, Goldschmidt and Bellinger were both brought up in trade talks. Bellinger would signal, as I wrote, a sell-off, and for lack of better words, a lost year. If you trade Bellinger, that's the white flag. That's the white flag. I don't know. I don't think you should, because I want Bellinger here long term. I don't want Bellinger to be a one and done. I want him to be here for a long time. If that means passing up on Kyle Tucker, it means passing up on Kyle Tucker. If that means Ben Rice has to become the backup catcher next season, and he could truly probably split it right down the middle with Wells. He could split that probably right down the middle with Wells, where it's literally 3-4, 4-3, 3-3 catching days. Because a lot of the guys like to pitch to Rice. And you put Bellinger at first or Judge at first, and then the outfield is Bellinger, Dominguez, and Jones. I can see that. Is Jones going to be ready? I don't know. If I'm the Yankees, what I do is I call up Jones on September 1st and see what he has to offer you. And if Jones is good on September 1st, it's a tough stretch because you're in the home stretch, but that's also against bad teams. The only team in September I think that's good is Detroit and Toronto, and that's about it. So I could see them doing that and see okay, what do we have here? And then that'll evaluate. The Yankees have a ton of money coming off the books in the offseason. I think they have to focus on pitching. I think the offense, well, we're going to see, because who knows? I was going to start trying to come up with what I think the Yankees need this offseason soon. But it's too early to tell, especially because the deadline's not yet, and they can make moves, even though I don't think they will make too many big moves. But Goldschmidt, I think that they can probably get something in return for him now and see. And then you could see what Ben Rice looks like at first. If he's a butcher at first, then guess what? He's your catcher next year. Or you trade him in the offseason. I don't want to trade him. I like Ben Rice. I think he's great. So see what he's got first. I wrote yesterday, the Yankees aren't a good fundamental team, and that's clearly not changing. You can change whoever you want. You can bring it. There are 3 good fundamental players on this team, as far as I'm concerned. Ryan McMahon, I could tell he's a fundamentally good player. Cody Bellinger, and Paul Goldschmidt. How many of them were developed by the Yankees? 0. The lack of fundamentals aren't a huge major league thing, but they are a minor league problem and need to be addressed. Jason Dominguez does not have good baseball instincts at all. Now that can, I think that's something you're more born with and raised with, and that he could change that. And he seems to be very much so a go-getter and someone who wants to do it and really wants to do good, and I want to see him do it. He had 2 of the 6 hits last night. He's fine. He's less of a concern. And he had a great defensive play in the gap last night. Who says he can't do it? He just needs to get reps. And he's a butcher in left. You don't want that down the pennant race. Bull. I want to see him in left down the pennant race because guess what? If they show that they have that they trust him defensively, and obviously the bat's fine. The bat is not a problem from either side of the plate. The right side a little bit more of a fixer-upper, and the power's not really there from the right side. The left side, he's a threat. I like Dominguez a lot, and I don't want him gone. So I think that giving him reps in left, if that's where they want him to play, I think he'd be better in center. But if they want him to play left, I'd do it. Not a good fundamental team. I mentioned the errors. I mentioned what Boone said, and I said this, and I kind of referenced something else at the end. This is a common issue with the Yankees. There might be a need for a change in philosophy of fundamental coaching because the Yankee philosophy is awful. I mentioned in my next paragraph, McMahon was one of them, I think. Goldschmidt was, and there was another one that kind of just jogged, didn't really hustle down the first baseline. Not that they're going to beat it out, but a little bit of an effort, right? When you're kind of getting bowed over, make him rush a throw. Maybe he throws it over the first baseman's head and into the camera well. Now you're down at second base. Just thought. You notice something when you watch other teams, and Toronto comes to mind. They put the ball in play a lot and don't strike out, and guess what happens? It forces other teams to make plays. The Yankees are a team that can't. Why can't the Yankees put the ball in play more, stop striking out so much, put the ball in play and put pressure on others? That's one of my things. But once again, they're lackadaisical, they're lazy, and Boone will never call them out on it. Or Boone last week. Yeah, I only sit players when they don't hustle. You sat Gleyber Torres once in 7 years for not hustling. He was not hustling for 7 years, but the noise got so loud that you had no choice. Well, guess what, Aaron? The noise is going to get loud if you guys don't make it back to the World Series, and you're probably going to lose your job. Because this is the same thing. There's a path for the Yankees right now. On Thursday at 6 p.m., I'm going to go live probably between 6:30 and 7, and for live on X, and then upload this to YouTube and Spotify for my listeners on there. I'm going to do a recap of the deadline. At that point, I'm going to predict the path that I think the Yankees are going to follow for the next month and a half. There are 2 paths. It's either the Yankees are making the postseason, and if they make the postseason, the 3 or 4 starting pitchers the Yankees have can go with anyone. And if they have enough good arms in the bullpen, their offense is going to be good enough to get you to a championship. I believe that. Now, if you're playing Toronto, it's going to be hard. If you're playing Detroit, you can strike them out. And that's the fact. If you're playing Seattle, the Yankees have owned Seattle this year. All right, if you're looking at the playoff picture, if the Yankees are playing Boston, that's not a good matchup. Right now, if the season ends today, I believe the Yankees are playing Seattle. I believe. if the season ended today. Next, so I mentioned the Yankees have had internal discussions about moving Cam Schlittler to the bullpen. I got this confirmed to me. I believe this is something the Yankees need to do. I think Schlittler's swing and miss ability and strikeout ability really play in the bullpen. A lot of scouts have mentioned that they believe Cam Schlittler can be a really dominant closer. I'm not saying put him in the closer role, but I'm saying put him into a high, middle inning, seventh inning, maybe, you stretch an eighth inning or something like that role where he could, you could see what you have. Because that's another thing. If you can go into this offseason where you're losing Weaver and Williams, and I've been very open about saying Weaver needs to be brought back, tell Williams to go kick rocks. I like Devin Williams. He seems like a nice guy. I don't think he's good for New York. I don't want him here long term. I think Luke Weaver's probably a better option long term. I know the results have not been there as of late. He's given up a lot of home runs as of late. Okay. He has looked better in his past 7 out of his past 8 appearances than he had since that Toronto game, since the game against the Mets, where he gave up the homer to McNeil. He's been much, much better since then. Friday night was a little blow up. All right, he hung a changeup. It happens. It's called pitching, and it happens to everyone. I think they rushed him back from the injury, and I think the Luke Weaver we saw last night and the Luke Weaver we saw on Sunday is more indicative to the Luke Weaver we're going to get down the stretch, as opposed to the one we saw in the beginning of July. I think Luke Weaver's fine. So I think leave him. I think he's good. So, but if they can put Schlittler in the bullpen now and see, and this plays in a Louis Seal thing, well, who's going back there? They're not going to move Warren because they think they like him too much. So unless Warren's going to AAA or in a trade, I think they like Warren too much, and they'll leave him in the rotation. But he's been awful. I like Cam Schlittler a lot. He threw too many pitches and walked too many batters. He's got to be more aggressive in the strike zone and trust your defense to get guys out. That's my tell on Schlittler. But if you can put him in the bullpen, he can give you 1 or 2 innings, which the Yankees like from their setup men, and can strike guys out. Now, and obviously in a relief role, if he gets into trouble, they can pull him. Brian Hoke just confirmed the report live from Mark Feinstein that the Yankees have shown interest in Ryan Helsley. That's a move I've liked for a very long time. He is a free agent at the end of the year, so we'll see. But I trust Hoke a lot. If he can, him confirming that, we'll play into the deadline stuff. This is going to be a longer episode because I've been talking a lot. The Yankees are 11-19 against the American League East, which is the second worst stretch for the Yankees since divisional play began in 1995. Again, in their first 30 games. The last time it was this bad was 2016, according to Katie Sharp. Horrible. They stink against their division. They are actually 27th in all baseball playing against their own division. You know who's below them? The White Sox and the Rockies. The White Sox and the Rockies. I think it's the White Sox. Whatever. It's too bottom. I know the Rockies are 30th and the Yankees are 27th. 27th. You can't make it up. The Yankees aren't good against their own division, and guess what? That's something that's going to plague them. Yeah, I was. They're 20. Yeah, they're 27th. 28th is the Washington Nationals, who stink. And shame on me for saying the Nationals could be a scrappy team with James Woods and C.J. Abrams, because they stink. Then you have the White Sox, who are dreadful. They're 7-20 against their division, and you have the Rockies, 5-20. The Yankees are 11-19. The A's and the Pirates are better against their divisions. The A's and the Pirates. The A's. The Yankees should be on the opposite field of the A's. Because every time they play the American League East, they get scared. You know why? Because American League East teams know what Boone's about to do and manage, and the American League East teams are used to the Yankees. And know if you put the ball in play against them, they're going to fuck themselves over because they stink. Anyways, the Yankees, if they have any shot at even making the postseason, need to take the next 2 or 2 out of the next 3 against Tampa Bay. And when they play Boston next, need to take 3 or 4. Or at least split against Boston at Yankee Stadium. Without Rafi Devers. Roman Anthony's been a lot better. I could see him being the next Rafi Devers. To the Yankees. Like a comp of like a Yankee killer. Because he's going to be here for a while. So, yeah, the Yankees have issues. The Red Sox are not doing anything at the deadline. Newsflash. They might go and get like a first baseman, maybe. They like Yandy Diaz, maybe. But newsflash, nothing big is going to Boston, from what I've heard and from what they're saying. That's a winnable series for the Yankees. And you know what? The Yankees are lucky that the Red Sox got put into a rain delay last night. And Jordan Hicks came out and non-rolled Chapman. And they blew a save. That fully all in. They're soft. I believe it was soft, not soft sell. I'm going to trust Jack Curry, the Yes Network, because he knows soft buy, meaning they're not going to trade a ton of pieces. I think that's being misrepresented. Soft buy means they're not going to go out and get a ton of pieces and sell a bunch of assets. They are going to try and get 2 relievers, and they're going to try and get a starting pitcher. That's a lot. And they still want another right-handed bat. Helsley, I just said they like Willie Castro, they like Bader. With the relievers, they want a left-handed reliever with swing and miss. Something they need desperately because Tim Hill's arm is going to fall off with the amount of appearances he's made. The Yankees have little over 48 hours. A lot over 48 hours. 56 hours right now to decide what they're doing. And they need to get aggressive, and they need to do something quick. Because this is a sinking ship. I'm going to tell you right now, if the Yankees do not make the playoffs, or if the Yankees get knocked out in the wild card, potentially the ALDS, depending on the matchup, I think Aaron Boone's done, and I think Brian Cashman needs to go as well. If the Yankees can, if Cashman stays the year and gets 2 good relievers, and the Yankees right the ship and make a run, okay. But I think they need a new voice. They've been hesitant to do so. I think the noise is going to get too loud for them to ignore if this goes in the wrong direction. I'm going to sign off there. Deadline in 2 days. Yankees are a sinking ship. Need to take tonight. Tonight is a non-mathematical must-win game. Bullpen game for Tampa Bay. Yankees ace going tonight. Win. Let's go Yankees. Have a great day.